Good afternoon, everyone. It is afternoon, even on the Pacific Coast, which can be unusual at times. But welcome to our April meeting of our housing facilities, ACUHO-I housing facilities committee meeting. So again, welcome. Glad you could join us. We've got a really good group on today. So we'll move through some things. So I've got some updates with you. We've got some of the conference committee on. We'll just kind of work through some. You're going to find some of the slides that are kind of redundant from last week or last month, but I'm looking for any new updates that anyone might have, when any new revelations that you've come across for hiring, supply chain issues, and all that really good things. So we've got a few issues to talk through, and then our open discussions have been really vibrant the last couple of meetings. So to continue on with that, so we'll move through. So again, welcome, Housing Facility Services Committee, our virtual roundtable. So let's see here. Next. So again, this is just, be sure to check out the ACUHO-I online resources committee and utilize the open forum discussions for both main ACUHO-I and the Housing Facilities Committee. We've always get some really good discussions going on in there, and we've seen some pretty good posts here lately. People looking for information. So continue to use that, utilize it more, especially in this time as we start to come out of the pandemic into the endemic stage of COVID-19, and how processes and all good things, how we do business are going back to normal, or what the new normal looks like. So my name's Steve McKenzie. I'm the Director of Housing Facilities at the University of Oregon. So we'll end with that. More notes, conversation-based, not like a traditional webinar. I really enjoyed the roundtable, and participants of all, everybody on the meeting today. I think the discussions and input from everyone is really, really important in our line of business, and helps us do our business. So we've got the conference and program committee. So we've got actually Aubrey Smith on the call today. JJ hasn't been able to join us. And I know that Allison usually does, but she left it up to Aubrey today to give us some conference updates. So Aubrey will give us what she has, and then I'll give you what I've got.
So I don't know that I have much, but we have dates, we have a location. We're hoping to have more information to share about program submissions very, very soon. And then with that, we'll probably have a little bit more information about a committee as well. So as soon as we have information, we will be sharing that with all of you.
Yeah. One thing I do know is that, our conference this year is in New Orleans at the 19th through the 22nd of September, which is a month earlier than typical, based off contractual obligations. I had some conversation with Josh. Josh was unsuccessful in moving it. And I did have conversations with Suzanne Healy with APA. And she also understands our challenge, but that those will be our conference dates. So the 19th through the 22nd, a little bit challenging for those of us on the quarter systems. Our move-in date at University of Oregon is the 22nd and 23rd of September. And we are, according to Spencer, our support with ACUHO-I, who's on the call today. He's going to be involved in the business operations side of that conference, which will be offered at the same time in the same hotel, just a different location of the hotel. So a little bit.
And we should have, and I'll just elaborate a little bit more on that, Steve. We will have a joint exhibit hall for both conferences to combine and have a really great group of exhibitors coming in. Should be outstanding for both conferences, and it should, in theory, allow for a great connection between you and attendees of both conferences. But certainly, our intention is to have both groups have very specific, unique conferences of their own. This is not a combined conference, but we are using the same space and the same dates. And I can also promise you that the business operations folks, they're also feeling that pinch of the timing of this and the contractual obligations, but we shall get through it. But yes, it is tough for those on the quarter system. Sorry, Steve.
No, that's okay. I appreciate the info, and I think it's really going to benefit us, the fact that we're going to be doing a shared exhibit hall, because we'll be able to see some things on our side, from our perspective, and to more how the business ops side completes their business. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And it just gives more opportunity for all of us from the housing facility side to network with that with the business ops side, that we might not get that opportunity and chance to. So thank you for that update, Spencer. That's great. So stay tuned for that. We will be looking out we will put out a call for programs here soon. And then I'll probably put out some more. I'd like some input on just some of the subjects and the topic areas that we really want to focus on this year. One thing that I have brought up is, since this is an ACUHO-I APA conference, I'd like to focus a little bit on the four core areas of APA, to start getting more housing facilities professionals involved in the APA programs. Excuse me. So stay tuned on that one. There we go. Communication committee. This is Joel. Got his out of Oklahoma State, runs this, but he's unavailable today. But he's been the individual that's been sending out all of our meeting invites and providing some information, and you'll start to see some more information come out from him in regards to the programming for the conference. So stay tuned for that. Committee for the recruitment of minorities and women in housing facilities. Dee Dee sent me an email earlier. She's unable to attend today, type thing. I don't know if, let's see. Angela, I think Angela from the Brill Company. I don't know, Angela, are you on the meeting today? She was doing a program for ACUHO-I.
Steve, I know she's not here right now. She was, we were in an earlier call, so I don't know.
Okay.
She normally is very thrilled about making this meeting, so I don't know why she's here. But yeah, she's still doing a program at ACUHO-I this year, and she's partnering with a couple other women on just women in facilities or breaking into housing. And I know she's very excited about it, and her program was accepted. So but she's not here currently.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that update, Bill. I know that Dee Dee suggested that if she was on the call, she could kind of give us an overview of her program that she's going to present. So we'll look forward to more information on that. Very important topic. The Education and Resource Committee, I don't really have any update here. As we're working through some things again, as we look at this committee, and possibly reorganizing some of these committees into a structure that better meets the business needs, and aligns more with ACUHO-I's main business model. So I know Josh is on the committee, or on the call today. Josh, he's our executive committee liaison.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And just wanted to thank everyone on behalf of the ACUHO-I board for participating and attending. We're excited here in 2 months for the first major in-person engagement in over 2 years with ACUHO-I at the annual conference and exposition in Pittsburgh. There's still time to register if you haven't yet. It's going to be a great time there. ACUHO-I very recently switched to a new online platform. So I just point that out, that if you've not logged into the online communities in the last 3 weeks or so, that you may need to recreate your account. And the information is still there, but the login essentially needs to be reactivated. So take some time to do that if you haven't yet. The final thing I have is that my board role, the Facilities and Physical Environments Director position, is terming out in December, and we are soliciting nominations and applications for the position. It's really a great role, and it's an opportunity to really apply some facilities expertise at a strategic level with the ACUHO-I. So if you're at all interested in that, I will drop my email in the chat box. I'd love to chat with you about it. And it's a great opportunity, and those elections will take place over the summer.
All right. Thank you for that update, Josh. And stay tuned for more. All right. Okay, so just to kind of brush through some of these topics, COVID pandemic, endemic. Does anybody have anything new where you currently are with, and making this switch over? Are you going, is it, what does the new normal look like? Does everybody, pretty much going back to pre-pandemic operations? What's the future look like?
That's the question of the day, Steve. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we've held on to some of the mitigations longer than a number of places. So our campus just removed face coverings about 3 weeks ago, and we're seeing a relatively substantial uptick in cases right now, with our isolation housing being the second fullest it's ever been. And, I'm keeping a real close eye on that. The great debate for us is what's happening next year. And we did a poll of the Pac-12 schools, and it seems like about a third were planning on isolating in place with roommates, about a third hadn't decided yet, and a third were doing the same program as this year. And I'm anxiously waiting to work with our health colleagues to figure out what our stance is, because we're needing to figure out what type of space we need to hold offline for the coming year. Spaces at a premium. So that's a long way of saying, I don't know. I'm hopeful we're inching better, but we're still hanging on tight to a full isolation program.
Okay. Yeah, we dropped the face masks about a month ago. Has been exactly about a month. And still, we're not quite sure yet what we're doing as far as isolation and quarantine. We've got one of our grad village buildings that's we utilized for IQ this last year. It's pretty vacant. We don't have much of an uptick coming out of spring break, which is encouraging. No clear direction yet on whether or not we're going to do the isolate in place in your room yet. So again, we're kind of in the same position as Josh at the Washington up there. Just stay tuned. Keep your seatbelt buckled. Stay tuned. Could still be a bumpy ride. So, anyone else like to provide some input?
Hi, I'm Cece Chavez. I'm the Senior Facilities Coordinator within our Housing Department at California State University, Monterey Bay. We saw an uptake in COVID cases after spring break, and we were isolating some students. We have done isolation in space, but then if roommates or things like that have an issue with it, we will either move the roommates or move the person who has COVID. But we are still wearing face masks until our next date is May 19th. That's the end of the semester for us. So I think our university is just keeping it consistent, but it'll be interesting to see what happens after that. We have conference and events this summer coming up. And yeah, we're still struggling with post-COVID things. We have some older residence halls that's like old military style housing, and those pipes have just completely broken or collapsed or cracked. And so temporary spaces for those have been very difficult last semester as well as this semester, as we're relocating 6 rooms at a time, multiple stacks a week. So that has been a struggle, and we are doing renovations over the summer to hopefully get rid of all of these rusted and cracked pipes. So that's where we're at CSUMB.
Thank you, Cece. Thank you for joining the call. Question for you. So you say you've got a mask mandate till May 19th, which is end of semester. Are all the CSUs following that mandate, or is it just each one individually based off county health guidelines?
I believe it's each one individually. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that different universities have different mask standards. So we have to wear a KN95 or an N95. And that has been since the beginning of the semester. But I think other universities are able to wear like the regular cloth masks or things like that. So it may be a CSU thing, but I think it's also dependent on the university and where you're at and what you're dealing with.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on to the next fun topic? Okay, so move-in and openings. Obviously, we've got some taking place. Do you have any changes in place for 2022 that might still be associated with COVID? What would your roadblocks be, and how did your occupancy levels work right now? How are they looking for fall of 2022? Here at Oregon, we're not really making any changes for 2022. A little bit more logistically in the general area. We've got 2 new residence halls under construction that are going to kind of impact some of our move-in areas that have been utilized in the past. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. No real roadblocks in place at this time that we're anticipating. As far as occupancy goes, over last year, our applications are running about 1,200 more than they were at this very same time last year. And we ended up opening in the fall of 2021, really at 4 weeks in at our highest occupancy level. So we're running ahead of that pace, which, you know, we talk about possibly having to triple more rooms, which is not necessarily a good thing, especially on the res life side. So we're just kind of tracking that to see what happens. I'm trying to balance it also with the applications to the university overall, and seeing what we're kind of getting is this trend that there's more housing applications necessarily than that's tracking ahead of the applications to the university in general. So I think a lot of people are probably just applying to housing to save a space just in case. So, others? All right. Staffing. Anybody have any new strategies for this? All right, please. Well, so what's the magic wand on this one? Because we're out there, we're trying to hire about 300 custodians, temp staff, because we've got tremendous amount of track events taking place in June and July on with the World Track Championships here in July, and us housing all of the athletes and their support staff. And we've got 5 different temp agencies working on it. One dropped out. We're getting nowhere. So I don't know if anybody's got any strategies. If any of you see any movement on this, is it taking higher wages to try and get some in?
I'm hoping that higher wages will bring something around. I've been trying to get my management to raise some of our, particularly our custodial pay rate and our maintenance staff pay rates. And I won't know until July, so I guess it's going to be a rough summer for us. My name is Matt Beach. I'm the housing department at the University of Utah.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's you know, we got the hourly rates up for the temp staff, but we're bucking really close to our permanent staff right now. Looking at even more creative options, possibly to stipend the permanent staff at a higher wage throughout the summer in order to raise the rates for the temp offers, to see if that'll increase some of the applications from the temporary staff.
Yeah, I think that's what we're running into, is the compression.
Yeah. We're even struggling with student staff. Dining's still way down for student staff. We're offering up some really unique opportunities for summer housing in one of the complexes here for students. That would be, it's very, very affordable housing for any students that would like to stay over the summer. So it's just trying to get creative like that. Again, we've got the, you know, if it would be one thing if we were just looking to get on for summer turns and everything, conferences. But with the World Track Championships coming in, we're not only, we're fighting against, or we're competing against all the local businesses that are going to need to hire staff. And, you know, there's a lot of them around here that are paying $2, $3, $4, $5 an hour more in some of these restaurants than we can offer. So huge challenges.
You know, it's going to be interesting to see the little longitudinal attitude about what we're doing here too, because, you know, we start, you know, doing the can't find staff to fill our own roles, and keep that up for a couple of years. We're still trying to raise our wages, even though we're getting a little bit of traction with that here in Tennessee. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. I'm just wondering, you know, it'd be interesting that when we go down to New Orleans to talk with the business folks about, on paper, it may make sense for people to take a look at, you know, outsourcing your whole custodial staff, your whole maintenance staff, because you can't find people, and you're putting the burden of finding those people on your private folks. I'm concerned that could end up being a trend that comes out of this over the next 4 or 5 years, that there'd be more privatization out there of what we're trying to accomplish here. I've never seen it work when it does happen very long, but I'm concerned that people who make decisions on paper are kind of going to be taking a look at that over the course of a few years here.
Yeah, those are really good points, Gary. And I don't know if anybody's on the call that currently outsources some of those, and what your experience has been. It's also kind of been my experience is that in order to make that work, you've really got to have a very outlined scope of expectations for them, but then you've got to manage that. And then sometimes that management is more difficult and ends up costing you really more with some level of loss of customer service as well, and services. So if anybody's on the call that's got any input on that, where you currently use or you're outsourced, and how's that working for you?
Hey, I'm Bill LaCava from Arkansas Tech. We don't really use outsourcing. I converted it to student workers. So we had essentially, I've only had 3 trade skillsmen out of the 8 that I'm supposed to have. I'm supposed to have 3 trade skillsmen, 2 mid-level and 3 assistants. But since I've been here since 2018, we have never filled the assistant role for the trade skillsman. So I cut the assistant trade skillsman position in the mid-levels and converted into 2 more trade skillsman level. Luckily, we're getting a lot of people coming from California over to Arkansas right now. So we're getting a lot of them, and a lot of people want to be more local because of raising gas prices and all that stuff. So we had a great pool of 7 to 8 people over here. So thank you, California schools, for sending some of your guys over to us. We appreciate that. That being said,
Gladys Hernandez came by. She's one of the custodians, and she wants to stay at Plymouth. And she said she wanted to speak to you about it.
we have one of the other things I did was I created, during the pandemic, I created our student staff maintenance assistants, and they are basically doing low-end jobs that our trade skillsmen cannot, typical plumbing outside of there, to unclogging toilets, to putting eyes on things that our 3 trade skillsmen couldn't get to at first. And we've been having pretty good success on them putting eyes on things and seeing if they can fix something versus sending it off to them. Like, trying to plunge a toilet once or twice before doing it, because, students don't try to plunge their toilet whatsoever. They just, flush brown paper towels down their toilets instead of doing anything else on that one. So we've been combating that. And we also train the staff to help out, because our housekeepers, around of 15 housekeepers are, we're down to 7 right now from that one, either due to early retirement or, injuries, outage, COVID related. We've only had 7 at a full time at this one. So part of the student staff job is to go around and help vacuum the common areas in some of our buildings, and also to upkeep some of the showers and stuff like that. Not get deep into cleaning them, but, do a quick, instead of sending a full housekeeping crew to go in and clean a room, maybe a quick clean on something, like a quick sleep and all that stuff. We've had pretty good success on there. It does matter on the training, where our head housekeeper does train our staff pretty well on what she expects from them. And on occasion, myself, or I'll send my coordinator over to check the rooms again to make sure that they are ready, which was a problem in the past. We had people sign off on it. Now we, of course, get housekeepers sign off on things currently that say that are ready, but is not ready on things. So we've been working through that. But we found some success in hiring student workers at our the student level pay that we have right now, and offering them like a 25% off of their housing to be able to do that. So they get a hourly pay and 25% off of anywhere they live on that one. And they work for us. They put in average about 20 hours or so. And we've been getting great results so far on most of it. I'm waiting to see what the final reaction on some of these things are, and some more of the data of how many work orders were sent over from our trade skillsmen to our student workers, and so on and so forth. But preliminary data says it's about 1 in every 3 work orders submitted has been gone over to our student workers and have been resolved. I got this question. I'll answer this one. Someone asked me what happens if they stop working for us. As soon as they stop working for us, the discounted housing is discontinued, and they pay the regular rate wherever they're at. So as soon as they leave from that position, they do it. Now, we do offer them, if they want to change rooms based off of that, we'll allow them to change rooms and do that beforehand. But as soon as they're done with their employment with us, they lose that discounted housing.
All right.
I'm hoping to do a presentation after I get more data on this stuff on there, but that is something we've been doing for about last year and a half so far over here, 2 years to 1.5 years on there. A lot of bumps along the road, but it's so far been pretty effective, especially for like changing light bulbs and giving some pressure off of our full-time trade skillsmen who've been combating HVAC issues pretty constantly this year.
All right, Bill, thanks for all that good info. All right, anybody else on this topic?
I'll add to the conversation. So we have switched from using facilities on campus to a third-party contractor that manages our maintenance staff. That being said, they're contracting out as well. They have a company that they use, but everyone's contracting out basically. We do use a custodial team, which they contract out for like our major turns. Earlier I said we're having a lot of plumbing issues and a lot of relocations, so they have been contracting out to get those rooms flipped for us as quickly as possible. But we currently in our housing staff only have myself, my direct supervisor, and 4 students that help us with the quality assurance as well as processing. We process all of our work orders through StarRes, and then have to use other work order systems through campus depending on what we are using. So Orkin is our pest control, so we contract out for that, but we have really gone to contracting out for a lot of things. Plumbers, we use a local plumbing company for a lot of our issues and things like that. So we've contracted out. Our facilities on campus, though, they are very short-staffed, but we have started contracting out for everything and pretty much oversee our own maintenance for our 14 residence halls. So,
Steve, one of the concerns that I have with all of this is as we get into contracting more out, or we're using student labor or whatever we become very much almost 100% reactionary in our efforts. We're reacting to the work orders as they come in, and we can do a pretty good job with that. And I'm sure the reality, though, is that most of our campuses have buildings that are fairly antiquated, as well as the systems that are antiquated, and not having anybody really taking periodic deep dives at preventative maintenance or deep dives at looking into the systemic things that are happening with big overall systems, roofing, windows, those types of things, then we are subject to even more reaction and maintenance down the road, and it's going to end up costing us a lot more money in having to react to catastrophic events versus being able to be preventative. So as we move down this road, if we're trying to find people, and that's one of the arguments that I think would hold a little bit of weight with the administrations, is to look at the conditions of your facilities and go after the preventative side and what happens when that doesn't happen to an appreciable level, and how you're going to do that even with a outsourced. It's going to be tough to do that as well, unless you're really sophisticated in your approach.
Yeah, we're struggling with some of that now as well. Trying to get back up on the preventative maintenance and getting away from the reactive and reactionary stance. Been trying to work with our maintenance staff. I've got journey level mechanics, and I've also got what we call trades maintenance workers that are kind of assigned to one to each residence hall complex type thing, but trying to get them to focus more on looking at all of their work as preventative, walking the halls on a daily basis, taking care of any of those little items and stuff, so we can get away from the reactionary. Still continue to struggle with a lot of vandalism. They seem to like to knock exit signs off the ceiling, on a regular basis in a big way. But that is a big challenge. And then, you know, and kind of right in the middle of all this stuff in COVID, they shifted over to a new CMMS system. They moved over to the campus system, which has been a real struggle and challenge. I continue to struggle with it because it's my work control manager doesn't have the ability to kind of be an admin on that program. So we're kind of more like a shop to campus CPFM, which I don't like because we can't get done what we need to get done. Our operation works so much different than theirs. And so we can't get the preventative maintenance stuff to do what I want it to do, but more on that. So, all right. We'll go to the next one, the supply chain issues, long lead time, shortages, strategies. Same issues as last month. We're still struggling.
It's amazingly bad. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, including our contractors. And they're struggling as much as anybody else to have, you know, being told they can only buy a certain amount of paint when they go into a paint supplier, to steel and you know, mechanical equipment and that kind of thing is 14, 18, 24 weeks out. And then if you can get it at all, I'm waiting for an elevator control piece that I've been waiting for since January to come in and to repair one of my elevators. And they have no idea when it was going to get here. Still don't. It's something, and it's driving the hard part about this too is that you can't price out renovation work very well. I mean, it's a crapshoot, putting your thumb on a moving target. You know, my latest request for a contractor to give me a price on a renovation I'm looking forward to doing is, my price yesterday was $100 a square foot. Tomorrow, can't tell you what it's going to be. And so how am I supposed to go back to my administration and say, well, yesterday was $100 a square foot, so I count on today being $105 a square foot. It just doesn't make any sense to try to figure it out, but you have to put something in it. I'm just at a loss like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that escalation right now is I don't know how we track it and how we plan for it. The supply chain issue is the same. We've got a couple thousand door locks on order and we don't know when they're going to come in, and we've got deadlines for the start of fall semester. I've got to get temp staff in to be able to switch them out and install them. It's just a crapshoot. It just adds to our challenges. So.
Do you want another one, Steve?
Oh no, don't talk to me about furniture, Bill.
No, I'm not. I'll just tell all of you. And once again, you all deal with a lot of wonderful companies. And I just know that last week, we actually received notices from our two main install companies. And they came along and said their biggest fear is what all of you are saying with construction issues and things of this nature. So all of a sudden, they're now saying, they're asking us to go to all of you wherever and just saying, hey, is there any way you can secure these dates for these installs? And all I keep hearing is all of you sitting there saying, well, you're waiting for these parts or these paints or the construction's not happening. And my gosh, I know on our end, we're expecting, you know, such an unfortunate potential domino effect this summer, because we've had so many of them that have come out of COVID and are just, whether it's fill-in furniture, new projects, whatever it is. And from our end, I just can't imagine the shuffling that's going to happen when we start trying to install furniture potentially on partially finished sites and all of that. And so I feel for everything you guys are going through, because I know on our end, we're looking at, as I said, the domino effect everywhere we turn. So it's really going to be a time of strong communication. I know we're going to all of our schools right now and just saying, hey, are we on board still? Is this still a solid date? Is this all of that? And that literally came to me from our group this morning saying, can we please do that? So, you know, I know what Gary's saying, and I hear, I mean, all of you, I just can't imagine what y'all going through right now.
Stressful times, probably, to put it mildly, in some fashion. I think for a lot of us, we're being asked, you know, a lot on the facilities end, and a lot of times we don't have the answers right now, and we don't know when we'll have the answers because things are changing so rapidly.
Agreed.
So thank you for your input. All right. Summer 22, again, that we just kind of talked about some of this a little bit, you know, projects that are going along, difficulties with supply chains, camps and conferences. We're probably not, again, this is my first summer at the University of Oregon, so I don't know what to expect in a normal year. When it comes for conferences, I know that what they're telling us is this is it's returning to normal, but we're not typically where we are. But this is a different year for us. Is we're not doing any conferences through the month in the month of July due to the World Track Championships. We do have the high school championships, the NCAA, and then the track and field trials, all in the month of June. So those, we're throwing those in as well. So the summer looks a little bit different to us just because of the activity of the worlds that's going on. How about the rest of the group? Are you getting back to pre-COVID levels and activity with your conferences on this? And again, that has an impact on staffing and even supply chain issues.
Yeah, Steve, we're looking to be in it full swing for conferences, which is fun because it's been 2 years without them. Almost forgot what I was getting myself into. And we've added square footage since then, so it's really interesting to see how we're going back into this conference season and integrating the other 370,000 square feet that we added between opened in 2020, so we haven't even really been able to utilize it for summer. That, and again with the occupancy that we're looking at, we're planning on adding triples, all the other projects, the lead times for chillers that I'm supposed to have going. It's a it's a really interesting time to be in facilities.
Yeah, boy, isn't it?
And that's the other thing, is we're looking at potentially reaching out to a contractor to assist with just trying to turn buildings in time to get conferencing in, as well as bringing in a pretty substantial summer program for our students. So just trying to stay on top of all that, reaching out to contractors to try to help support us, because I don't think we were hiring custodian part-time or summer, hourly help at $11.50, and then maintenance hourly help at $12.50. You can go over to the Panda Express and make $18 an hour. So don't think I'm going to have a whole bunch of people springing for it. So that's really what our approach is just trying to reach out to contractors where we are, not to mention as shorthanded as we've been since the pandemic started in our own departments. It should be a riot.
All right. Yeah, we don't have problems. We just have challenges, right? All right, so next one here, panel discussions, just a little bit. We talked about this some last week or last month. Right. And Dr. Jar, he brought this up, and we're making some a little headway on this with people interested in being and participating on this committee. So Paul will be able to maybe kick this off some if you want to deal with it. But how it's going with consolidating housing facilities services to the campus facilities side of life, and how that integration is going. How does it not go? Paul, do you want to go ahead and put your thoughts in on this as to kind of what we're looking for out of this committee?
Sure, I'll take a shot at it. I feel, I feel badly to proposing something to folks who are already so overworked and dealing with situations that you can't control and can't even predict. However, if you're looking for a little break, what's being proposed is to put a group of folks together to explore and create resources for the various aspects involved with the consolidation of housing and campus housing facilities into a unit, to produce some sort of resources, tools that would be available to colleagues all across the country who either are hearing conversations about this might be coming down, or who want to better prepare themselves in the event that this might come down. And actually, since we last met, I've reached out to some of my retired colleagues, those of us who allegedly have time on our hands. And I've talked to a couple of folks, Norb Dunkel, Dave Sagasser, some of the FSU people. So what, I mean, I have a bunch of, I've produced a bunch of thoughts, but at this point, what I would request, if anybody is interested on at least being involved in some conversations, we're not looking at this stage for anybody to obligate themselves to take on additional work. But because I would see this as a group operating outside of these meetings other than reporting back. And, and a couple of big questions. I would advocate that we consider involving not just ourselves at ACUHO-I, but our APA colleagues, our NACUBO colleagues, because this is an issue that is much bigger than just, fixing the buildings or keeping them clean. You folks know better than I do, there are a million factors. So what, at this stage, in the interest of time, anybody who's interested, if you would, I'll put my email's simple, but I'll put it in the chat. If you would just communicate with me, and I will be willing to facilitate some conversation to determine what direction the group wants to go in, or individuals might like to go in. I mean, this could very well be a topic for the September conference, I guess, for a conversation piece, an open forum for folks to come to and share thoughts and ideas. But that's my limited vision at the moment. I do have a lot of points I can share. So once again, if you are interested, yeah, Gary, I'm looking at Gary. He's got nothing. All right, I see a thumbs up. I'll leave it at that in the interest of time. Dee Dee was one, for example, on our call last month. And just so you know, I did do some research, and 2 years ago, she posted on the facilities open forum asking for folks to identify themselves or share thoughts. And I was hoping to catch her at this meeting to get a quick, did you get any response? Are there?
Dee
Go
Dee,
ahead.
yeah, Dee Dee's going to be, thank you for that, Paul. And that's a good overview of kind of what we're looking for out of this. Dee Dee's one that I do want to reach out to. Actually, we're trying to get a phone call scheduled this week. I also want to reach out to Doug Carter over at Kansas State, because he went through this some years back, and I still don't think that his blood pressure's come down from that one. But to reach out on that, and yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to look outside the ACUHO-I housing facility side, because when that happens, there's always someone else on the other side of the fence. So it is the campus facilities, which is more tied into the APA side, and what that getting some of their input and what their challenges have been. we look at it from our side, but what have their challenges been in taking over housing facilities? So yeah, if you've got any interest, reach out to me, reach out to Joel Gotti on it. And then we'll put together a meeting outside of this one to start some initial discussions. It would be a good topic for the September conference as a roundtable for sure. So we'll start to do some of that outreach. So thank you for that. I did have some conversation with APA with Kelly Ostergrant, who runs the APA CEFP program, Certified Educational Facilities Professional. And trying to bring more of what that program is into the housing side, and getting more housing professionals through that program. So I'm actually trying to work with APA and with Kelly and with Suzanne on getting something more at the October or the September conference that will address this in some way to bring more interest to that program, because it's a great program. I did have a talk with Suzanne with APA in regards to the fee waiver, and they are in support of the fee waiver program to continue for our committee. They've got their Fall Institute for Facilities Management. So we've got one fee waiver that's available for that. So stay tuned. We'll put that program together and get it out there for individuals to submit interest and applications for that. Then we'll have another one, I think, in January to do. According to Suzanne, they're going to go to just one institute a year starting next year. But they are going to continue to support ACUHO-I's housing facilities with a fee waiver for that Institute for Facilities Management, which I greatly appreciate. I did sit in on an ACUHO-I marketing meeting a month or so ago that Spencer had put together. I'd like to talk about that more as far as marketing for this committee in general and what that might mean. So they have some discussions with others. We'll put it out there. What we could do to maybe, for marketing. What do we want to look at maybe for marketing for the fall conference? What we can put together. I'd like to hear others' ideas on some of that to promote this committee strong and to more visible and a stronger outreach. So put all these little ticklers out there in everybody's thought process. Only got a few more minutes. Subcommittees, we can shelf this till again next month probably. Again, give some thought to what our current subcommittees are and what we might want to do to further align with not only along the APA lines that we're really trying to develop more of a collaboration and partnership with, but also with the ACUHO-I. I'll see if I can put together some more information on this and get it out to the group. So we can start to really develop possibly, maybe not, maybe we're structured how we need to be structured. But some more additional thoughts on things. So to be continued. Future panel discussions. If anybody has topics that you'd like to discuss at these meetings on a monthly basis, please share them with myself, share them with Joel, send the information, put it into the open forum for discussion. They'll send them on. What are the emerging trends? What are the challenges? What we're looking for to get answers to? Just how many universes are there out there in the world right now? So please do send those topics along and we'll get them on the agenda and have some good, robust discussion. I gotta move that. Again, consult with your colleagues. Anybody on this call, we can get any information out as far as who's part of the committee. You can reach out to anybody, anyone here individually, and start some of those conversations and some of that networking, so to speak, with individuals and peers across the country. We're all unique. That's what makes us special. So, man. Again, so you can join us. There's my email, smckens3@uoregon.edu. Send me an email. Send me anything topic-wise you'd like to discuss. All right, Wayne's got a couple there, but some CMMS systems. I'd like to have some discussion about CMMS systems. Who all's using what? And how's that working out for you? Wayne's got in here discussions about a roundtable about hiring challenges and successes. Again, yeah, very, very good topic to have. So, all right, our next meeting's May 16th, 2022. I very well might be piping into that one from the road some places. I will be on my way back from Reno. My stepson will be graduating from the University of Nevada, Reno on that Saturday, the 14th, and I'll be traveling back, but I will definitely make the meeting one way or the other. So, job postings and announcements, if anybody's got anything, we can please send it along. We can get them posted here, talk about it in this meeting, and see what we can do to help each other out in getting some of these positions filled. With that, thank you for joining. This has been a really good, and we had a really strong group today. I think our membership and participation in these meetings is growing, and I like to see it. It's good discussion, and I appreciate everybody's time. Anybody have anything to add? All right, then. With that, I appreciate it. All have a good day, afternoon, week, and we will talk to you in the month of May.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you all.